And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I've talked a lot about Age of Steam. In fact, I've written a very detailed review about the game. So if you want to know exactly how the game works, this video is probably not the best because I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on the third edition from Fred Distribution, and what do I think about this game and the component-wise, and maybe some thoughts on the strategy and what's included in the game. But brief summary, I think Age of Steam is a great game. I actually got rid of my second edition because I knew that multiple editions of the game were coming out this year, and because I found the component quality lacking in comparison to, for example, Railroad Tycoon, which is a similar game. I also found that Age of Steam is kind of unforgiving for new players, and so I just wasn't getting it played as much. However, once I got rid of it, I did think I'm kind of missing it a bit. I do like Railroad Tycoon, but sometimes I like that tight game. So, lo and behold, the third edition shows up. Well, let me tell you this. First of all, the improvements are 100% better. It's amazing just how much they've improved. Instead of, they still include the discs from the first game. These are only used for markers now on the boards. And speaking of boards, look at these. This was a piece of paper in the first and second edition, and now they're laminated cardboard. They're really nice, and I mean, I'm just really impressed with these. They're pretty much the exact same thing as they were before, and so you use these discs to mark them. But instead of using discs on the board itself, now you use trains. Plastic trains. Who would have thought Eagle would put out something like that? The board itself is now a nicer looking board. It's still basically hexagons and such, but now the green looks like and the mountains look well. It's not so abstract. It's still fairly abstract, but just not as bad. And hey, there's no printing error on it. Well, the dice that are included with the game are good quality. There's different markers. The tiles are the same, but they're very good, thick. These are really nice vinyl tiles here that are included with the game. And there's lots of different colors included of the trains. However, there is one production flaw, in my opinion. Paper money. They went up in everything, and yet we get paper money. What is this? Now, the other editions had little tiddlywinks, and I guess at least with this one, we won't argue if something's worth 5 or 10, it mentions it on there. But this is being replaced in my version. So, that's basically what you get in the game. But also included is a special map, a double-sided map. This side here is St. Lucia, and this side here is Barbados. Let's take a closer look at Barbados. This is a map from Ted Alspach from Bezier Games, and it was included in the game, and I think that's neat because Age of Steam is a 3 to 6 player game. This lets you play with one person, and then the flip side, St. Lucia, allows you to play with 2 players. Let's go back to Barbados. This, if you notice, all the cities here are yellow. Now, you have the opportunity during the course of the game to build more cities on the board, but there is no purple cubes and only a few cities of the other cubes. This is a solo game, and in this game you are transporting cubes back and forth, and you're trying to pay off all your shares over the course of a game over 10 turns. However, interestingly enough, there's only 4 actions that you can use on the main board: the engineer, locomotive, urbanization, and production. There's very few resources available in the game, and once you use one of these actions, you can't use it again until you've used the other 3. So if you urbanize a city, you won't be able to urbanize another city until turn 5. Now, this makes the game, I don't know, to me, it's more like a puzzle at this point. In fact, I've tried it twice now, and both times, the first time I came horribly missing the mark. The second time I did just as badly. I still haven't figured out how to beat this. And so in that sense, I don't know if I would consider this a game. Yes, you use the Age of Steam rules, but you have no pressure from other people. The pressure itself comes from the system, and there's a lot of luck in which cubes show up where. I'm confident that I'll beat this eventually, and once I do, I'm not sure I'd want to play it again because then I would feel like I beat the puzzle. But it's still neat that they added this in the game really at no extra cost. On the other side, you have St. Lucia, and if you notice, there's no cities on St. Lucia. Instead, you're going to have cubes that are placed all over the board. They're like natural resources, and you're sending tracks to go pick them up, which I guess makes for a crazy island. This one really changes the game up, and it's, again, for 2 players, which the Age of Steam maps themselves really don't handle that well, and so I think this works. And again, it's a nice addition to the game. I think it's pretty neat, although I still prefer the main game better. The basic map that comes with the game is very well done, and it offers a lot of variety. But what's neat about Age of Steam is that there's so many different maps that are available to play. There's many official expansion, but there's also a lot of unofficial, sometimes strange expansions, and there's just some fanatics out there that will constantly be making new maps. Ted Alsbach is one of those. He just makes all kinds of sorts of maps that you can purchase offline. And so while some games, a new map adds some variety, each map in Age of Steam to me adds quite a bit of depth, and some of them you'll like better than others. Some make the game even harder, others make it more interactive, others allow special rules that let you do things that you don't normally do in the game, and it's really neat that it's expandable like this with all these different maps. So who needs this game? Alright, well, if you already have the second edition, I'm not sure that getting this game would be worth it for you unless you want to upgrade your components, and that, if you play the game a lot, that actually may be a decent consideration, just because to me, the components in this one, why would I buy the first? Except to throw out that money. But, other than that, I love the artwork. The artist here is one of my favorite from Eagle Games. So the components may tempt you. Now, if you're a big fan of Railroad Tycoon and you want to try something a little bit harder, I'll be honest, I still like Railroad Tycoon better. I like the fact that it is this big, sprawling map. You can build all over it. My only regret with Railroad Tycoon is that there's only 2 maps out for it currently, and I'd love to see the same kind of variety that Age of Steam does. I'm almost envious of this game because I wish some of my favorite games had such hardcore fanatics that they had so many expansions out for them. Because Age of Steam, you can do so much. Now, if you're looking for something simple, Age of Steam's not for you. In fact, there's another game coming out from Mayfair this year called Steam and Rails to Riches, and it's going to be interesting. I'll do a full comparison of this game and that, and both those games will use all the different expansion maps. Now, I wouldn't get this game just to get the Barbados expansion either, although it's possible, because you can get that separately, but this is a nice addition to the game. It effectively makes it from 1 to 6 players. And so, the nicer components, the same game rules. I can't tell any difference in the rules per se from the old version. So it's a good, economic, tough, very tough, but very rewarding game. It's a nice new addition, Age of Steam 3rd edition.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.